All right, so today we're tackling Napoleon Bonaparte, his rise to power, specifically the coup of 18 Brumaire,
Yeah.
a pivotal moment in French history.
Oh, absolutely. A complete turning point.
You sent over some fascinating historical analysis on this.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to kind of get into it with you.
Absolutely.
So
It's such a dramatic moment, you know?
Yeah.
If you think about France in 1799,
yeah,
a nation exhausted by, almost a decade of revolutionary upheaval,
yeah,
the ideals of liberty, equality, fraternity, all kind of hanging by a thread.
yeah, not exactly the happy ending everyone was hoping for after the revolution kicked off, right?
No, they thought they were going to get a fresh start, but the Directory, this new government,
Right.
anything but fresh.
Yeah.
They're drowning in corruption, can't handle the economic turmoil,
Yeah.
powerless against these uprisings that are popping up everywhere. Oh, and France is still at war with like half of Europe.
Right, of course.
I mean, it's just chaos,
Yeah.
capital C.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So the revolution's promise of a better future had basically imploded.
Yeah.
And this is where Napoleon enters the picture.
Exactly. Stage, right? Napoleon returning from his Egyptian campaign.
Hold on. The Egyptian campaign, wasn't that a bit of a strategic retreat?
It wasn't exactly the triumphant victory march Napoleon probably envisioned.
Right.
Little messy. We could do a whole other deep dive just on that.
Right.
But back in France, they're kind of overlooking that debacle.
Okay.
Many saw him as a savior, the only one who could fix this mess.
So desperate times call for potentially flawed heroes.
Precisely. And Napoleon was already kind of a rock star. Charisma, military victories, notwithstanding Egypt.
Right.
And this knack for inspiring loyalty.
Yeah.
In a nation yearning for stability, he seemed like the answer.
Okay. I'm starting to see how the pieces are falling into place for this coup.
Yeah.
You've got a weak government, a public craving change,
Yep.
and a charismatic general with ambition.
Oh, yeah.
What happens next?
Well, it's not a solo act.
No.
There's a whole conspiracy kind of bubbling beneath the surface.
Right.
Key figures like Emmanuel Joseph Sieyès.
Okay.
He was a member of the Directory, but he's already scheming to replace it.
Really?
With a stronger, more centralized government.
Wow. So even those in power wanted the Directory gone.
Oh, yeah, it was that bad.
Okay.
Sieyès was a sharp guy.
Yeah.
He saw the Directory as inherently flawed
Okay.
and believed they needed a strong leader.
Okay. I think I can guess who he had in mind.
Who's that?
Napoleon.
Napoleon. You got it. Sieyès saw him as the muscle to back his political vision.
Yeah.
So they, along with others like Charles Francois Lebrun, begin plotting.
Okay.
And Napoleon's return is the spark they need.
I know.
He's more than happy to fan the flames.
So the conspiracy is brewing.
Yeah.
But how do they actually pull this coup off?
Right.
It's not like you just casually overthrow a government.
Right. This is where it gets juicy. November 9th, 1799, or 18 Brumaire, year 8.
Okay.
If you're going by the French Revolutionary calendar,
Right.
masterclass in mixing political maneuvering with military persuasion. So first, they relocate the two legislative councils, the Council of Ancients and the Council of 500 to St. Cloud,
Okay. Why move them?
just outside Paris.
Was that just like a change of scenery?
Not quite. They used the excuse of a Jacobin threat in Paris.
Okay.
Really brilliant tactic to
Yeah.
move the councils away from that, potentially volatile Parisian mob.
Yeah.
Gave them a strategic edge.
Isolate the councils, control the situation.
Exactly. Okay.
What's the next move?
So Napoleon himself goes to St. Cloud, addresses the councils.
Right on.
His goal is to convince them to dissolve the Directory.
Right.
Create a new government.
Okay.
But things don't go according to plan.
I knew there had to be some drama. Tell me more. So you got to picture this
Yeah.
Napoleon used to the battlefield, right?
Walks into the Council of 500 expecting an easy win.
Yeah.
Instead, he's met with hostility.
Wow.
They see right through his act,
Yeah.
accusing him of wanting to become a dictator.
Yeah.
The chamber explodes into chaos.
Talk about a reality check for Napoleon.
Yeah, he's not used to people questioning his authority.
Right.
And that's where his brother Lucien Bonaparte steps in.
Wow.
He was president of the Council of 500.
Right.
Sees things spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
Solution, call in the troops.
Wait, they brought the military in to deal with a room full of angry politicians?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Soldiers march right into the chamber.
Wow.
Force the dissenting legislators out.
That is a power move.
Talk about a power move.
Yeah.
This display of force basically sealed the deal.
Okay.
The Directory is officially dissolved.
Right.
And a temporary 3-person consulate is established.
I bet Napoleon just happens to be one of those consuls.
You got it, but we'll delve into all that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
The aftermath of the coup.
Yeah.
And Napoleon's rise to first consul.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Stay tuned.
All right, so we're back. Coup's done. Directory's out. We've got our trio of temporary consuls, Napoleon, Sieyès, and Ducos. It's like a political reality show just waiting to happen.
You know, it's funny you say that because Napoleon understands how to play to an audience.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, France is weary of this instability, right?
Right.
They're yearning for someone to step in and bring order.
Yeah, they want a strong leader.
Exactly. And Napoleon is in the right place at the right time with the perfect skill set to capitalize on the situation.
So it's not just luck. He's actually got the skills to back it up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's not just a brilliant military strategist.
Right.
He's a shrewd political operator. And he doesn't waste any time consolidating his power.
Okay.
And remember, this coup was practically bloodless.
Yeah.
A lot of people in France were breathing a sigh of relief when the Directory fell.
So he's got public opinion on his side, but he's still got to navigate this new consulate, right?
Right.
It's not an automatic win for him.
You're catching on. So Sieyès, the mastermind behind the coup.
Yeah.
He had his own grand vision for a new constitution.
Okay.
But Napoleon skillfully maneuvers him, shapes this new government to his advantage.
So it's not enough to just seize power. You have to structure that power
Exactly.
to maintain control.
You got it.
What does this new government actually look like?
So in December 1799, they adopt a new constitution,
Okay.
establishing the Consulate. And guess who takes the title of first consul?
I think I know where this is going. It's Napoleon.
Napoleon.
Okay.
Bingo. And this isn't just a fancy title.
Right.
The first consul held immense power.
Like what?
He could appoint ministers, control the army, propose laws, influence over the judicial system.
So essentially, he's got all the reins of power in France.
He does.
In just a few weeks, he goes from returning general to the most powerful man in France. That's a heck of a power grab.
It is, and he understands perception is everything.
Okay.
He crafts this image of himself as the unifier,
Right.
the man who can restore order and guide France back to greatness.
After a decade of chaos, who wouldn't be drawn to that message?
Exactly. And remember those posters you sent in?
Yeah.
Depicting Napoleon as this youthful, energetic leader.
Yeah.
He wasn't just promising stability, he was embodying it.
He understood branding.
Oh, yeah. He grasped the power of propaganda long before we even called it that.
So he's got the power, he's got the public support. What does he actually do with it?
He launches into this whirlwind of reforms,
Such as,
tackles everything, the legal system, education, the economy.
wow.
The Bank of France centralizes the administration. He even makes peace with the Catholic Church.
It's like he's rebuilding the nation from the ground up.
Yeah, you could say that it's all part of his vision for a new France.
Ooh.
Not just restored to order,
Right.
but elevated to a dominant position in Europe.
So the seeds of the Napoleonic Empire are being sown right here.
Exactly, and it all stems from this pivotal moment, the coup of 18 Brumaire. It launches him onto the world stage,
Yeah.
shapes European history for the next 15 years.
This is where I get tripped up.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to look back now and see the trajectory. But for people living through it, did they recognize the magnitude of what was happening?
Right.
Did they see Napoleon for who he truly was?
Yeah.
This ambitious leader who would reshape Europe.
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that opinions were mixed.
Okay.
Some were probably swept up in this fervor of, his leadership believing in these promises of stability and greatness.
Yeah.
Others, maybe more skeptical, might have seen the warning signs
Right.
of authoritarianism.
So even back then, he was a polarizing figure.
Absolutely.
So interesting to think about.
And remember, information didn't travel at the speed of Twitter back then.
Right. Yeah.
People's perceptions were shaped by local news rumors, often government-controlled propaganda. It makes you wonder, what stories were they telling themselves about Napoleon's rise?
That's such a great point. It highlights how history isn't just about what happened, but how people interpreted,
Right.
responded to those events.
Exactly.
Different perspectives create a richer, more nuanced understanding of the past.
I love that. And that's something to keep in mind as we move into the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore the long-term impact of the coup,
Yeah.
the rise of the Napoleonic Empire, and ultimately the complex legacy of this pivotal moment in history.
All right. So we're back. Ready to tackle the legacy of this coup.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen how Napoleon masterfully kind of maneuvers his way to the top.
Yeah.
But what happens next? How does this one event ripple outwards and kind of change the course of history?
Well, I mean, it's almost like this coup throws open the door to a whole new chapter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for a lot of historians, it signifies the end of the French Revolution. Not that the ideals vanished instantly, but that era of kind of chaotic idealism gives way to something much more pragmatic and arguably more authoritarian under Napoleon.
So the revolution meant to bring about freedom and equality ends up paving the way for like a new type of strongman rule.
Yeah, it's pretty ironic, isn't it?
It is.
You know, it shows how even revolutions with the most noble intentions can be vulnerable to power grabs.
Yeah.
You know, the revolution created this void, this instability, and Napoleon was perfectly positioned to fill it.
It makes me wonder if someone else had been in Napoleon's shoes at that moment, would things have turned out differently?
That's a great question.
Would history have unfolded differently?
Yeah, it's like the great man theory of history versus, you know, forces of circumstance.
Right.
Was Napoleon inevitable?
Yeah.
Or could someone else have stepped in and steered France in a different direction?
It's impossible to know.
I know we can only speculate, but
Yeah.
it really speaks to the complexity of historical causality.
What becomes of the revolutionary ideals?
Right. Do they just get swept under the rug?
Yeah.
Well, not entirely.
Yeah.
The ideas of individual rights, legal equality, separation of church and state, those core principles persist in some form.
Okay.
But that dream of a truly democratic government accountable to the people, that vision definitely gets pushed aside under Napoleon's rule.
So a mixed bag, progress in some areas, regression in others.
Yeah.
It sounds like historians are still debating the overall impact of the coup in Napoleon's rule.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, some view the coup as a necessary evil.
Okay.
France was in shambles on the verge of imploding, and Napoleon brought order out of chaos.
Right.
Others argue that he hijacked the revolution, sacrificing its core principles for his own ambition.
Yeah. You know, it seems like every historical turning point has these layers of interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about the facts, it's about how we make sense of them.
Exactly. It's why history is so compelling. You know, we're always wrestling with the what ifs and the competing perspectives.
Yeah.
It's not a simple, straightforward narrative.
So how does this all play out on a larger scale?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's the lasting impact of this coup on France and the world?
Well, on the home front, the coup sets the stage for Napoleon's rule, centralizes power, implements this wave of reforms, brings about a period of stability and relative prosperity.
Okay.
But his ambition doesn't end at France's borders.
This is where he sets his sights on conquering Europe.
Exactly.
The Napoleonic Wars.
Precisely, the coup gives him the power base, the platform to launch these military campaigns that are going to engulf Europe for over a decade.
Right.
Conquers vast territories, spreads those revolutionary ideas, though, with his own twist, of course.
Right.
Redraws the political map of Europe.
So this one event, the coup of 18 Brumaire, sets off this chain reaction that extends far beyond France.
Yeah, a domino effect. You know, the rise of nationalism, the shifting borders, the eventual downfall of Napoleon himself.
Yeah.
I mean, you can trace a line back to this pivotal moment.
It's crazy to think how one power grab could have such a global impact.
It really is, you know, and it reminds us that history isn't just this linear progression of events.
Right.
It's full of twists and turns and unintended consequences.
So if we had to sum up this deep dive into the coup of 18 Brumaire, what would be like the key takeaway for our listener?
Well, I think it's a story about ambition, power, and the unpredictable nature of revolutions. It shows how a charismatic leader can capitalize on chaos to seize control, and how a single event can set off this cascade of events that reshape the world.
It's also a reminder that history isn't black and white.
Right.
You know, there are layers of interpretation, competing perspectives. Those what-if questions that keep us engaged and curious about the past.
Exactly. It encourages us to think critically about how we understand history.
Right.
Question assumptions, consider multiple viewpoints, grapple with the complexities of the past.
You know, history isn't just about memorizing dates and facts. It's about engaging with that messy, multifaceted nature of human events.
It's an ongoing conversation, a journey of discovery that helps us understand not just the past, but also our present and our future.
That is a perfect note to end on.
I think so.
A huge thank you to you and to our listener for joining us on this deep dive into the coup of 18 Brumaire.
Absolutely.
We hope you enjoyed exploring this pivotal moment in history with us.